What is going on, Cuse Nation? Welcome to yet another edition of Untitled. My name's Giovanni Heater, as always, and thank you for joining me. Today we welcome Syracuse football record holder for most career receptions with 201 catches, and the single-season record holder for receptions in a year with 72 catches in 2012. Wide receiver out of Crofton, Maryland, number 15, Alec Lemon. Alec, how are you doing?
Doing well. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Good, thank you. I appreciate you coming on.
Of course, anytime.
So, I have to be the classic interviewer here, and I have to ask you, how you doing lately? How you keeping yourself busy throughout this whole quarantine process?
Oh, man, I don't think I've ran so many miles in my life. It's not bad. We're doing a lot of stuff around the house to stay sane. I live with 3 buddies from home. So we all got our own rooms. There's times that, we're going to our rooms or separating ourselves from each other. Lots of video games. It's a good thing Call of Duty just came out with their new Warzone. So we've been playing a lot of that, working out, trying to stay busy. And, we can't really watch Sports Center because, there's no sports to be reported on. So we're just playing a lot of video games.
Yeah. You said Call of Duty is your game of choice. Now, I'm not a big video game guy, but, of course, there's not much else to do. So I've picked it up, and I've been playing college football and college basketball, and you're actually on those games. Have you ever played as yourself?
I did. So when I was training for the combine, when I was down in Arizona, I had my own system. I had the game, and I actually played a couple seasons with my buddies because when I was done training, I'd just go back to my apartment and hang out. So all I did was play that game, and it was awesome. And, they don't make it now, for a little bit, but
right.
I think if I went down into my storage unit, and I think I still have the game. I'm curious if they would PS3 would play on PS4, because if it does, I gotta throw it in there.
I don't think it does, but I can tell you it's definitely a blast. I'm pretty sure I made your squad with Ryan Nassib win the national championship, for sure.
There you go. That's awesome. It's always fun to play that game.
For sure. All right, so let's get right into it and kind of dive in head first here. So what was your first introduction to the game of football?
First introduction. It's actually kind of funny. Growing up, it was just me, my mom, and my brother. My mom remarried. We moved from Colorado to Maryland, and we were big soccer players. Mom didn't want contact, us getting hurt and stuff. And, we always loved football. We played backyard football with our neighbors, all our friends, but we could never play organized football. So growing up, we kind of talked to our stepdad, we wanted to play football, and he convinced my mom. Now, growing up, I wasn't a big milk drinker. I hated milk. I just couldn't do it. And one of the compromises was I had to drink a glass of milk every day from, I forgot when we started, but up until the season. And if I did that, I could play football. Now, I tell you, I would drink milk. It'd probably take me 20, 30 minutes when dinner was done to finish it. And it was the worst thing ever. Once I started playing football, I stopped drinking the milk.
So when did you really first get going and really get your feet wet in football? Was it not till you got into school?
So it was when I was in 6th or 7th grade. That's one of my first years playing. We didn't have a lot of people on the team. We probably had like 12 to 13 kids for the first 2 years.
Wow.
Actually, so it was 6th grade. And then I went to a different team in the county, and we were actually pretty good, which when I started playing quarterback and, things started flowing, I started enjoying playing football because we're winning and, having not to play every single down because we had multiple people that we could play, it was kind of fun. And then going into high school, I could kind of fill the game out. And, I was a little guy coming into high school, but I was excited to keep it going and, just thinking about the next level of high school and being the starting quarterback as a freshman and, just letting it roll.
Now, growing up, was there anybody in maybe your community, you were down in the Maryland area, or maybe outside of your community, could be a college football player, an NFL star, somebody that you really tried to emulate your game towards?
Yeah, so actually growing up, I was a quarterback, and as a rec kid, you always went to the high school games, which the high school I ended up going to, Arundel High School, and predominantly we were, a spread no huddle team. So the quarterback was the go-to guy. He was the man on campus, and I would go to the games. I was in 7th and 8th grade, watch this guy Bobby Schramm play. He's athletic as anything, had an arm on him, just made everybody look good, and he just had that moxie, laid back guy. So like growing up in middle school, I'm like, I want to be that guy. And we would do this thing in school. It would be the old hat game. So like we would have like the former alumni come back, and we do like a 7-on-7 with current players, and then we do like an 07 team and 08 team, and you have like the older guys, and he would always come back. And I remember I talked to him. I'm like, man, I used to look up to you so much. Like, is there a way I could get your face mask? And I literally got the face mask he wore in high school, and I put it on my helmet, and I wore it for all 4 years.
No kidding. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I still got it.
Now, when you were a kid, you were obviously in the Maryland area, again, we say, but did you ever watch Syracuse sports at all?
I did a little bit. We didn't get a lot of the games down here. I knew of the turf and everything, but I had an older brother that was about 2-3 years older than me, and he was going through the recruiting process. And so he was looking all over the place, up to Syracuse, down to team schools in Florida. So I heard of Syracuse. Once he started getting letters and stuff, people come to school, you see the orange and blue. Growing up, I was a big Broncos fan, so I was attracted to the orange and blue. And then, obviously playing in the Carrier Dome, and my brother wanted to go D1. So I was like pretty interested in that school.
That's funny. I kind of thought you were going to go along the lines of the Syracuse-Georgetown rivalry because you were in the Maryland area. Did you ever play any other sports in high school? Yeah,
so I was a basketball and baseball player. Basketball, I played basketball and baseball. I played up to my sophomore year. I was a pretty good baseball player. I didn't think so. My parents thought I was a great player. They loved watching me play. They said, just give me a couple years and you can stop playing. Our team was pretty good. We had a couple kids that were on the U18, the under 18 USA team that won the championship and stuff, kids that were supposed to go everywhere. So once my sophomore year kind of hit and I knew I wanted to go to the next level to play football, I kind of just dropped basketball and baseball and just focused on football. It was kind of hard to let go of basketball because it was so much fun, and you know how electric it is in a basketball stadium. So that was kind of tough, but I still went to the game, supported, and I just kept it full 100% football.
Can you talk a little bit about your elite high school career on the football side of the things? You were an All-American and an All-State, all these accolades for you, as well as a deep Maryland State tournament run. So can you just talk about your experience playing high school football in such a competitive area?
Yeah, it was awesome. It's unforgettable. The stuff that we did around the county is crazy. You always hear about the numbers Arundel football puts up with passing and, the receiving yards. It's crazy. So growing up, I was a quarterback. Me and my brother's receiver, I was a quarterback. So we throw in the backyard and stuff. And, I was getting ready for high school. Freshman year, I was on JV. I did pretty good. They brought me up my sophomore year, and the kid in front of me was a junior. So I'm a sophomore, he's a junior. I'm like, so I'm only going to have 1 year to start at quarterback, which is kind of tough, but, I loved quarterback. So my sophomore year, I started, people would get hurt. They throw me at receiver, they throw me at defense. And at the end of the year, I ended up starting at safety. So I was kind of like all over the place, and I just wanted to play, which was, essentially as a football player, you want to get on the field. So going into my junior year, the kid was a senior. They're like, hey, let's move you to receiver. You could play, and we'll see, if you want to stay a receiver or you want to go back to quarterback your senior year. It's like, you know what? I'm not going to sit. Like, I want to play, so let's go ahead and do it. And, I ended up having a little under 1,000 yards, I think it was, my junior year. We had a kid that broke the state records before me. And I was like, you know what? I think I could do this thing as a receiver. I'm getting the rock the whole time. Like, I know what the quarterback's looking for. I know the reads. I used to be a quarterback. It's fun scoring the touchdowns and stuff. So, and then luckily we ended up getting a transfer in from Kansas State, where his dad was a defensive coordinator in Maryland. Chris Kosh, we got his son Billy Kosh, was a quarterback, and he had an arm on him. So my senior year, he was a junior, so I had another good quarterback. So I didn't even have to worry about going back to quarterback. So I had 2 all-state quarterbacks back-to-back that just could throw me the rock, and I could just go do my thing. And, I never looked back from there. So looking back on it, if I didn't have that quarterback, Nick Elko, in front of me, who knows where I would have been, because I still would have been a quarterback.
Might have been one of the best decisions you ever made getting to where you got to. So can you walk me through your recruiting process?
Yeah, so it was pretty nuts. You know, Anne Arundel County isn't a big county for football in Maryland. You know, it wasn't back then at least. So there's a lot of people viewed it as a lacrosse county. You know, we had big lacrosse names in there. You know,
Lacrosse.
exactly right. You know, I didn't know lacrosse, so I came to Maryland, and you know, we got a lot of people going to Maryland's, Hopkins, all over the place. So my coaches, you know, they were doing the best they could. The schools that came in, they talked to them, they sent our stuff out. It's just we didn't get a lot of attention from a lot of the big schools. My junior year, we had the all-state quarterback and all-state receiver, and that was kind of like the first couple of times that they had like a big dominant couple of names that they had to get their names out there. So it was kind of new for our coaches. So they were going through the steps as the players were. So going into my senior year, I kind of talked, you know, like, you know, it's all kind of brand new to everybody. Why don't we, you know, career and your experience in our own hands, and, you know, we'll just go full in. So, you know, we made tapes of my junior year, sent it to all over the country. The summer of my senior year, I actually really didn't have a summer the first couple of months because my stepdad literally drove from, we're in Maryland, we drove from New York all the way down to Louisiana, hitting about 14 camps in the summertime. And then that's all the one day, the rising seniors, from Syracuse, UConn, Maryland, went to Tulane, went to Vanderbilt, like all over the place just to get my name out there. And, you know, luckily, you know, coming out of those camps, at the end of the summer, I ended up with 3 scholarships from Delaware, JMU, and Syracuse. So, you know, I was kind of excited about that. So we kind of took the reins on our own and, you know, put my fate in our own hands. And, you know, it worked out for the best of us.
How close was the contention? You said JMU, Delaware, and Syracuse. Was it kind of Syracuse from day one, or what influenced your decision? Why Syracuse, essentially?
Yeah, so, you know, going through the process, you know, obviously you got Delaware and JMU, which were great D1 AA schools, and, you know, Syracuse being a D1 school, you know, at the lower tier, though. You know, I loved everything about Syracuse. You know, I loved playing at the high level and, you know, the Big East. And, you know, going into my senior years, actually, we started camp August 15th. And, you know, I was talking to Coach Trivers and Coach G-Rob when Coach Robinson was there. He's the one that gave me the scholarship. The day before, you know, I was talking to him, and they're like, listen, you know, we're taking 3 receivers. We want a fast receiver, a big receiver, and all-around receiver. You know, we got a fast one already to commit. We got a big one to commit. Now we're looking for this all-around one, and we think is you. And once that spot's filled, you know, that's all we're going to take. So, you know, as a 17-year-old, you know, you start feeling the pressure.
Yeah, they put the pressure on you there.
Exactly. They put that full court pressure. So I'm like, you know, I love Syracuse. You know, it's a D1 school. That was my dream. Full ride scholarship. So I called him the day before my tryouts my senior year. And I called him. I called Coach Trivers, and he gives the phone to G-Rob, and he's trying to recruit me. He's like, man, you'll love it here, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, Coach G-Rob, I'm committing today. Like, I'm ready to go. And he was ecstatic. You know, I was excited. You know, all that pressure was just off my shoulders. I didn't have to worry about trying to impress people during the season. And I could just go out and play because I already knew where I was going. I think it was the best decision I made, you know, doing it before the season. That way, like I said, there was no stress, and I could just have fun and play football.
Absolutely. So you said that Greg Robinson recruited you, which was kind of something I wanted to touch upon. So ultimately, Greg Robinson gets fired. What's your reaction with, one, the firing of the staff that you just got recruited by and that you were so sold on, and now they're bringing in Doug Marrone and his staff? What's going through your head at that point? Did you ever have doubts, anything like that?
I had some doubts. It was crazy to hear that. You know, Coach G-Rob, he had about 30 people in the class that he had signed, including myself, you know, like Justin Pugh, everybody. And it was nerve-wracking, you know, hearing that, because, you know, they want to bring in their people, their coaches and their players. And, you know, they might not think the same thing as the other staff did, whether they want you or not. So that was kind of hard. So when Coach Marrone actually came in, I don't know if a lot of people know this, when he came in, he went out to every recruit that, you know, that committed to Syracuse. He went to everybody's house and sat down and talked to them and to their parents. And it was whether, hey, listen, you know, I know G-Rob gave you the scholarship, but either we're going to pull your scholarship or we want to keep you. So that was hard to hear. So he's coming to my house. So he goes to my high school, talks to my coach first, and he comes over. And he's sitting down. It's me, my parents, Coach Marone, sitting in the living room. And he's like, yeah, so I've been making these moves, talking to everybody, you know, pulling everybody's scholarships. And, like, we look at him, we get all tense and, like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, you know, I've been pulling everybody's scholarships, but this is, like, the first house that I can actually relax. You know, we want to keep Alec. And, like, we just had a big sigh. We're like, we thought he was going to pull my scholarship.
Yeah.
And he said, you know, he was going to keep me. So I think out of those close to 30 commits, he kept, I think it was 3 or 4 that had committed with G-Rob. It was me, Ian Phillips, Justin Pugh, and I think it was a DB we had from Ohio. So
that blows my mind.
Yeah, we go from 30 people in a class to my senior class. My freshman class, we had about 14, 15 people for Coach Marone's class, yeah.
What was your first impression of Coach Marone as he's coming to your house, besides the anxiety of it? After he says they're going to keep you, what's your mindset there?
Excited, you know, knowing where Coach Marone and his background, where he's coming from, you know, the knowledge of the game he has, like, knowing the fact that when I get to Syracuse, I'm going to learn so much about football. You know, a lot of stuff that I thought I knew, you know, I'm definitely going to take that next level. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to go to Syracuse, in a big school. That way I could learn about the game of football. And, you know, he had that knowledge, and, you know, the stuff that he was saying, that he was excited, you know, stuff that I could do, you know, I really felt like I was going to be a part of a good program. And, you know, him coming back to Syracuse, you know, being a former player, like, it means a lot, because he knows what it means to be an Orangeman. You know, he could have been a head coach earlier than what he is now, but the one job that he would go down, take the ranks down, would be the Syracuse head coaching job, which he did. And, you know, him wanting to be a part to change that program around, I wanted to be a part of it. You know, say I was a class that, you know, put my mark on there. It was awesome. And, you know, to have a big guy like that, and Coach Marone knowing everything, it was awesome to be a part with him.
Change it you guys did, delivering 2 bowl games down the stretch. It was definitely sort of a revolution in the program, and definitely a breath of fresh air after the Robinson era. But what were your first days on the Syracuse campus like with the team, just coming to a new place?
I mean, it's like anywhere, you know, you're excited for the new adventure, the new journey. You know, you're meeting everybody that you're meeting is completely new. You know, you're a freshman, don't even know where to look. You know, you got upperclassmen that know what to do. You know, they're coming from a different regime too with G-Rob. They did certain things this way, and now Coach Marone's bringing a completely different way. So they're trying to learn as well, and we're coming in learning a whole new. So, like, you know, it's wild. Your head is spinning. So I think with that, it built our class a lot tighter, because Coach Marone wanted us to be his first class to turn it around. So, you know, just going to workouts and actually pumping iron and seeing guys that could squat over 700 pounds and deadlift this and bench this. It's like, this is D1 college football. It's an eye-opening. Like, Syracuse was at the bottom, but you don't forget that these players are elite. You know what I mean? They can still play. You're not winning games, but some of the stuff they do is pretty impressive. And, you know, seeing that was like, man, it's go time, and now it's time to make a name for yourself.
For sure. So what did Doug Marone do early on in his time on the Syracuse campus when you first got there, and maybe before you even got there, to really set his culture in stone and maybe get not only guys like you, but guys that had been in the program before he got there to buy into his system, buy into what he was preaching, and ultimately buy into this new Syracuse football program?
Yeah, so, you know, coming in, you know, we got in there in the summer, the freshman class, but, you know, he got in there during the winter time, and, you know, that's really, we got to change the culture right there. You got to, you know, you're going to make it hard. You know, we've heard stories of the winter workouts that they had before we got in, and, you know, he made it tough. You know, he wanted to see who wanted really to stay and who can make and break it, really. So the people that grinded it through and stuck it out, he knew that he could trust them. You know, they might not like them because of the winter workouts, but it made them better people and better person. I mean, a better player, honestly. And the ones that, you know, couldn't get through, you know, he weeded them out. Those are the ones that you don't want in your program. So, you know, bringing us in with himself, you know, it was like, all right, we got this small class right here. You know, they're going to be the lead off to change this program. You know, everybody needs to buy in, and we're going to attack this together. So, you know, it was different. You know, I know the seniors going through a big change like that your last year, it's hard. So, you know, they were based on the same level as us as freshmen. And I feel like the way that Marone and the new coaches came in, that they were gonna play the best player, whether they were freshmen or not, because, you know, whatever was working, whatever they were doing in the past wasn't working. So something's got to change.
How long did it take you to personally buy in?
Buy in, I mean, right away. Like, I love the game of football. I was excited to be at Syracuse. The academics was great. The other athletes in the sports were awesome. Like, I was just ready to go. And, being lucky to be a true freshman and actually start my first couple games was, it was eye-opening. And I think that's what built me to get to the player I was then, was starting out so early. I knew what it took. I knew the competition, because the competition, it's not like high school. I mean, you think a lot of people could jump in there, but there's still a big different step from high school to college. So I was bought right in. The workouts, we had great strength coaches, and Coach Luther and Coach Hicks, they got us all right. And I really wanted to change that program, because coming from high school, we won a lot of games, and I wasn't used to losing, so I didn't want to get back to that feeling.
So you talked about in high school you played with 2 all-state caliber quarterbacks. You kind of had it made for you when the rock's getting dished to you. So how difficult was it to adjust back and forth throughout the summer camp and the early goings of the season? They're shifting back and forth between Ryan Nassib and Greg Paulus. Greg Paulus, he's a graduate senior coming in from Duke. He's a basketball player. A lot with that story. So how did you adjust as a wide receiver to sharing the quarterback position, really?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something you don't really see a lot. I mean, you kind of see now with the dual quarterbacks bringing them in, but when we first started doing that, that was kind of new. They both were great guys, great players, the lead. So like whoever was in there, it wasn't like they both had different, great qualities and, some flaws. So we all knew, having them both under center, we all felt comfortable. Meshing Greg Paulus so quick, because, starting as a freshman and that being his 1 year was awesome. Everybody thought I was coming in, this famous Duke guy, that he was going to be the standoff guy, but he really wasn't. He just meshed in right away, became one of the guys, bought right in. Like, he knew what it took to win, because he was in a winning program. And he wanted to bring that over as well, especially being his hometown. Nassib being the same way, being a Philly guy, he's a tough guy. He wants to start too. Coming in, that was his job, and, you got another guy competing against you. So that's the best thing about competition, brings out the best in you. So, we had packages for both quarterbacks. You kind of get used to, who could throw a little harder, who could throw further. You get used to that with repetition and stuff. But ultimately, I had a great freshman year with both of them. I still have a great relationship with Greg Paulus now to this day, and, a great relationship with Ryan Nassib, and, I wouldn't have asked for anything else.
So as you said, you had a very successful freshman campaign. You started quite a few games. You participated in many games and put up some pretty good freshman numbers. And in your sophomore season, the momentum really started to pick up, though, both for you and for the Syracuse program as a whole. Ultimately, it led to a Pinstripe Bowl victory over Kansas State. So what was that key to success in the team and the program as a whole's second season together that really made the wins start piling up?
Yeah, so we all kind of bought in. We knew what it took. We knew the first year was going to be a little rocky and shaky, because being at the bottom, everybody expecting this is how Syracuse is going to be. Us wanting to change the culture, that was a big thing. But our second year, we got comfortable with the coaches, the philosophy that we were running, the schemes and everything. We knew we came in with more confidence, and going to a bowl game was awesome. It was something that Syracuse hadn't done in a couple of years, and to be able to be part of that class that brought the bowl games back was awesome. And doing it the way that we did it in the Yankee Stadium for the first time at Pinstripe Bowl, it's definitely magical.
Can you talk a little bit about, you played with the guy for 4 seasons, Ryan Nassib. You guys are arguably one of the greatest duos in Syracuse sports history as a whole, not even just football, in sports history. So can you just talk about your chemistry off the field maybe, and how that translated to playing on the field?
Yeah, I mean, Nassib and I, we're still boys to this day. You know how it is in college. You know, you're getting home after practice, and you're used to doing work or stuff, and you could go to your buddy's house that's right next door on South Campus and hang out with them, and that's what we did. We got to hang out as each other and get away from football. That's where you build that bond, and having that opportunity during the winter time and in the springtime and the summertime, really getting down our chemistry on the field is what took us to the next level. And I think I knew Nassib, he had great traits and qualities. And I think, as I got older, and he got more comfortable with me, that he trusted me more, which is, that's all you can ask for your quarterback, is to trust you. And, when he needs you at a certain spot, you're there. So I do my best to that, put my neck out of line for him, because I knew he'd do the same thing. And, to go out there and connect like we did for those 4 years is magical. And, still to this day, we would still love to go out there and play together.
What was the experience like? I believe it was your sophomore season. You had the opportunity to go out to Los Angeles and play USC in the Coliseum. Kind of a dream come true for some football players, especially when Syracuse at that time was kind of like this compared to USC, right? So what was that opportunity to go play a big ranked program on the road in a historic venue like the Coliseum?
It was a big eye-opener, that's for sure. You got the Syracuse coming from the East Coast all the way to the Coliseum. Like, that's all you hear about, You think of Matt Leinart, Reggie Bush, all those players, and be able to say that you were in the same stadium, it was crazy. I think that was like my first time actually in California. So you hear about all this stuff, the California dreaming, and, we're getting there a couple of days early to get used to the time zone, and, it's embracing the weather and just how nice it was over there. But, getting a chance to play against the Trojans and, the elites on the West Coast, that was definitely exciting. And, it's definitely a true testament of what kind of team we were going to be and what we were looking to do. Because if we wanted to take that next step, those were the teams that we're going to have to beat. But, besides that, you got to take every moment you can stepping on any field. I know it's all about wins and losses, but you got to enjoy the moment when you're there, because it doesn't last for a long time.
You had the opportunity to enjoy plenty of moments in a Syracuse jersey. What was your favorite stadium that you ever played in? Was there one that you just stepped in and you're like, wow, I'm standing in the middle of the Coliseum or MetLife Stadium or Yankee Stadium or even just the Dome?
Yeah. Well, I love playing at the Dome. I'd say the Dome, but probably my biggest eye opener was my freshman year. I want to say it was our first or second away game we played at Penn State. And I mean, that's all you got to say is, yeah, the Happy Valley, Penn State. It was a noon game, 100,000+ people in all white, and just looking around, especially coming from a high school level where you get, a packed game is 8,000-9,000 people. Now this is 100+, and it's like you see the wave going, the slow-mo wave, the fast wave. Like, we were in the red zone about to score, and I couldn't even hear it in the hut. Like, this is what college football is. You see it on TV, but to experience it, it was crazy. It was an experience that I'll never forget. And like I said, I got broken pretty quick.
Would you say that was the toughest place to play on the road? But you also played places like Morgantown against West Virginia. You played at Pitt. You played at Louisville. You played at the Coliseum. Where was the toughest place to play on the road?
The toughest place? I'd probably have to say West Virginia was probably the toughest place to play. That's West Virginia country right there. They love their Mountaineers. They bleed that Mountaineer pride, and their fans will let you know that. That's for sure. So coming in, you're ecstatic to play a great team, and the time we were there, they had some great players. So it's like you got to focus on the game, but yet you got all this scenery around you, these crazy West Virginia fans, and you got to make sure you're focused on the game. So I'd have to say West Virginia, especially the fact that when you get to West Virginia, your hotel is 45 minutes away because of how crazy the fans are. You gotta have a hotel in Pittsburgh because you don't want them coming to your hotel and pulling the fire alarms and stuff like that.
Wow. You really, though you said that they had some really good teams and it was a tough place to play, you had their number. And them being your rival, them being highly ranked at the time, you went down there in 2010 and knocked them off on the road. Then they came to the Dome in 2011 and the final score was like 49-14 and the Dome exploded. And then in 2012, you beat them in the Pinstripe Bowl. So what was the key to having a rival West Virginia's number, even though nobody else in the country seemed to be able to do that, but you seem to have a supremacy over the Mountaineers?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe, they might have the same mindset that we were going to be a cakewalk. I know my freshman year we got blown out. But my second year playing at West Virginia and us coming up with that upset was amazing. That turned the program around, to show everybody that we weren't a team to play with anymore. And, junior year, just having their number and then playing in my senior year at the Pinstripe, it's just a great way to cap it off. When we played for a trophy and we end up beating them 3 out of 4 years. And I got a lot of friends. One of my roommates went to West Virginia, so I talk about that all the time. Got a lot of friends around here that are West Virginia fans. And, to this day, they sing their song, and I let them know, like, listen, I'm 3-1 against West Virginia. Y'all can't sing that song around me.
Did you watch the Camping World Bowl 2 years ago?
Yeah, so actually my roommate and we actually went to the game. So that was even better to just watch that pummeling that they did. Like, I mean, what can West Virginia do now? We got their numbers.
Absolutely. So can you really talk about how competitive the Big East Conference was? At the time, this was when the Big East was kind of dwindling down, and that's right before it collapsed and Syracuse joined the ACC. But what was the Big East football?
Big East football, they got overshadowed by the ACC. You got the SEC, Pac-12, everything. But we had a lot of good players in that conference. If you look back, and still some players still playing to this day in the NFL, we had a lot of solid players. It might have not correlated to all the wins and losses that every team had, but that's also because we were battling every single week. We got overlooked, but, there were players all over the place, which is the reason why those players went there, because they saw that was a great program and they wanted to change it around, or they wanted to win games. And I mean, prime example, you see West Virginia, what they did to Clemson in the Orange Bowl that one year. Like, you might get overlooked, but, we come to compete every single day and every single game, and we want to win. And we want to make a statement that, the Big East, we're not to play with either.
Can you talk a little bit about your roller coaster of a senior season, and especially what it felt like to finally finish it off with a big-time Pinstripe Bowl victory, hoisting that trophy once again, a trophy you hoisted 2 years previously. You did it against a rival, against West Virginia. Just, did that really bring your whole career together as a whole, and was it the perfect send-off?
Yeah, it definitely was. We all got together before the season, the seniors, and we told them, like, listen, this is the last go. Like, what are we here for? We want to win games, obviously. We want to go to bowl games, obviously, but we want to win the Big East. It's been a while since Syracuse did that. And, to be able to beat teams that we did, beat at Mizzou to be bowl eligible, beat Louisville on our senior day against a top 7 Teddy Bridgewater team, like the way that we did it, like, there were some tough games that we played in, and that we went out there and showed them what we were all about. And, having a lot of players with experience and, having that same grit that they wanted to, finish the season strong, and, being able to finish it in New York City against our rival again, it was like a Cinderella story season for us. It was the way that we wanted to cap it off, and, a good way to send my class out that came with 14, 15 players, and, send us off the way that we wanted to come in. We wanted to come in changing the program, and to leave the program the way that we did. And, having Marone come in with us and lead with us, it was something special. And, the players to this day are still, living that for us.
Absolutely. Now, I kind of want to talk a little bit after Syracuse, right? So what was your experience at the Senior Bowl like?
It was awesome. So I was actually just training in Arizona, and Justin Pugh and Ryan Nassar were already at the Senior Bowl, and I was watching the Super Bowl. I was watching the playoff game. My agent had a party. A lot of us went over there, and Pugh texted me. He's like, hey, one of the receivers got hurt. I'm pitching your name to the head guy to get you out here. I'm like, what? I'm talking to my agent. I'm like, I'm here this. He's like, dude, if he gets you in, you're going. I'm like, all right. So he's pitching it. You know, Pew's a good talker. You know, he knows what to say, the right stuff. So Pew and Nassib, they got me into the game. And I was like, this is awesome. This is something I watched every year growing up, the Senior Bowl and the Combine. You know, watching that stuff was, you know, I wanted to do that stuff. You know, in the beginning, I didn't get the invite, which it is what it is. But, you know, having the opportunity to go against the best of the best, against players that I never got to play against in college, and, you know, see what kind of skills how my skills went up against these other guys, it was tremendous, you know, and it'd be and, you know, it's an experience that I'll never forget. You know, I still got the jersey and all the stuff to go with it, and, you know, to do it with one of my best friends, it was awesome.
So after the Senior Bowl, as you said, it was an incredible experience. You had an agent at that point and everything. What was the NFL free agency and workout process like? That's something that a lot of people might not really know about.
Yeah, so literally the day after the Pinstripe Bowl, we came home. You know, we won, I think it was like a Friday. We came home Saturday, and that's when I ended up signing with my agent. You know, I had two decisions between two agents. I made my decision. And literally, so I think that was like December 30th. I flew out to Arizona. I think it was January 2nd. So I got my stuff ready. He flew me out there. I went to Fisher Sports facility and started getting training for the Combine, or my pro day at the time. And, you know, it's eat, sleep, you know, train. Like, that's all you did.
Yeah.
You know, in the great weather of Arizona during January and February, it was awesome against, you know, with some other special talents, you know, being there with Logan Ryan and Lane Johnson and Devin Hester's cousin. It was like Lonnie Pryor from Florida State. So you're meeting all these people and hearing this background, and we're all there for the common goal. And, you know, it was exciting because, you know, you got 2 months with these guys, but we're trying to push each other, and we're working out 2-3 times a day. And, you know, you're going back to your apartment exhausted, and that's when you go back to play the video games. And yeah, still to this day, you know, it's an experience that I'll never forget, because a lot of people don't get to do that. And, you know, luckily getting the chance to go to the Combine, getting that late invite, you know, it was exciting. Like I said, it's something I watch every year, and be able to be part of it was, you know, it was breathtaking.
Alec, you know, sometimes people forget this, and myself included. You know, you guys are elite football players, but you're also people too. You enjoy things like spending time with your family, playing video games, as you said. So can you just speak about your time at Syracuse off the field? What did you enjoy to do? Who did you spend your time with?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so at Syracuse, you know, I mean, like I said, a lot of video games, you know. The thing with is I had a couple of roommates that I always stayed with. And I mean, we're going to Goldstein, we're going to Shine, like we're trying to be on the quad when it's, say, you know how it is in the wintertime. It's freezing cold, and then you get that one day in April and it's like 42 degrees and the sun's out and everybody's on the quad. Like, you know, I mean, that's not normal for other campuses, but, you know, it's a sunny day, so everybody's out there. So we go out there, we try to, you know, because during the summertime, you're up there all day, you know, nobody's up there, you're training. You know, in season, you really have no time to do anything. In the wintertime, it's cold in Syracuse, and that's the only time you can really go out and enjoy yourself as a student and as a player. So, I mean, just hang out at each other's apartments, you know, just do dumb stuff, you know, crack on each other, stay over places, people's houses and stuff. And, you know, so much you can do in the wintertime up at Syracuse. But, you know, I had a good time and built a lot of relationships. Still to this day, you know, I got a lot of best friends from Syracuse, and we still keep in contact. And just the alumni that I've met up there, you know, participate and, you know, support the other teams. It's something special.
Alec, wrapping it up here, I just got 3 quick questions for you. So, first off, do you have a favorite memory in an orange jersey?
I would have to say it was my senior day when we played Louisville, and we beat them like 49-27. And, you know, being that last game in the Carrier Dome, and before the game, be able to have my family on the field and, you know, taking pictures with Coach Marone and Floyd Little, and my family getting experience to be on the field with the stands packed. Like, it was something special. And to go out the way that we did, and, you know, being able to jump in the stands with our students, like, it was, I'll never forget that. You know, it was it was memorable. My best experience.
Something about crushing Louisville on a senior day. That's how the 2018 seniors went out as well, killing Louisville in the Dome.
Exactly.
Alec, so outside of football, or maybe football as well, what are you up to now?
So actually, back in Maryland, I live in Baltimore. I'm a PE teacher. It's my first year teaching, and I've been coaching at my old high school. But recently, I actually interviewed for the head coaching job at Glen Burnie, where I teach at, and I actually just got hired about a month ago.
Congrats.
So now, thank you. I appreciate it. So now I'm going to start this next chapter and try to turn this program around. This is a program that, it's kind of like Syracuse. We were at the bottom of the county, haven't had a couple winning seasons. And I'm hoping that I could, turn this program around with the players that we have, building that rapport with them in the building, knowing that they deserve a winning season and to change their mindset. And, they do all the right things. They need somebody to lead them in the right direction. And I'm hoping that, this being my first year, I'm excited, it's going to be fun. I'm hoping the season, obviously because of this virus, but I hope the season kicks off. But, being able to put my name on a program and say, I turned this around with the players and the coaches that I'm bringing in, like, it's something exciting. And, it's the next step in my life.
Absolutely. That's really cool to hear. Once again, congrats. And we'll definitely, as Syracuse fans, have to follow what you're doing down in Maryland on the coaching side of things. So last question for you, Alec. This one's for the fans. What does Syracuse mean to you?
Man, it means everything. I wouldn't be in the position I am now to this day. Going in from a high school from Maryland, I was this little guy, didn't know too much about anything. And, coming to the Dome and meeting so many different people and, my fellow students, I built so many relationships from kids that came from California, from New York City, Florida, like all my teammates and not even people that were my teammates, professors till this day that I still talk to or talk about. And I could sit down with, a former student and we could sit there and talk for hours about the memories that I've had and he's had or she's had and the memories that we've shared together, because there's something about, being up in that cold weather when it's -2 degrees and being outside, in your North Faith is something that just brings everybody together. And, the coaches that I had up there building me to become the man I am. And, still to this day, I'm experiencing, all the alumni, Syracuse doesn't just stop at this university, just so many people in DC and Baltimore that went to Syracuse. And if you say that you went to Syracuse, like people, they perk up, it's a brand name and, it's something I'm always be proud of. As you can see, I got my helmet back there. I'm always repping Syracuse. Whenever they're playing, it doesn't matter. I'm talking trash, whether we're winning or losing, because that's my school and that's my team. And I'll always bleed orange.
That's really cool to hear. It's my dream and goal as well to attend Syracuse, so maybe we'll both be future alumni. But thank you so much, Alec, for joining me. It really was a pleasure to interview you here today. You had some great stories, some great insight, and it was a blast, so thank you.
Of course, anytime. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. All right, for Alec Lemon, my name's Giovanni Heater as always, and we'll see you next time.